Right guys, it's Clinton from CNC Equipment. I had a lot of people asking me in the comments what the reason is for the high track dozers. Why I think Cat's the only one that does it. LeBeer actually makes one, but why Caterpillars have some high track versions and some are not. So we're going to compare that. We've got a John Deere sitting out here too. It's actually the low track version. John Deere doesn't make any high track versions, but there are several reasons why Cat went to the high track version. They did that in the 80s, early 80s. Mainly did it on their bigger tractors first. This is actually a D5M, so it's like the smallest tractor they actually did the high track on. It's the same as the bigger tractors, but the main reason that I know of that Cat did that, when this final drive is sitting down here at the bottom like it is on this John Deere, there's a lot of shock load that goes into that. Rocks, stumps, and that kind of stuff are hitting that final drive, putting a lot of pressure on the bearings and stuff. Another thing Cat did on their older dozers that were low tracks, they actually didn't have a planetary system, so they just had a bull gear and a pinion gear coming out. There was only like a few teeth engaging at a time, 3 or 4 teeth engaging, so that was really prone to breaking. This is actually what they call a planetary style. So you've got a pinion shaft coming out here in the center, and it's actually turning these 3 planetary gears. There's what they call a sun gear here in the middle, then there's a big green gear on the outside. So basically what that does, that's spreading the load out over several gears here and a lot of teeth area in 3 different spots. So you've got a lot more area. I don't know why Cat didn't do that on their low track older dozers. They actually do it now on the smaller dozers like the D7Es, the newer style. They actually went that planetary style. That little D3C over has got planetary style final drives. This John Deere does not. It's got a big bull gear and a pinion in there. They usually don't do that on the smaller tractors, the planetary style. They usually just do it on the big tractors. So like the 750s and on up, you'll see they'll have that bulge out here where the sprocket's at. And they'll have those, you can usually tell when they've got a planetary system, they'll have these 3 spots in them right here. And I'll try to stick a picture in here of a exploded diagram of what that looks like inside there. So like I say, all those gears are spreading that load out. So the reason they raised that up, the main reason was to take the shock load off. So if it was sitting down there, all that shock load was beating on that, tearing bearings and stuff up. So when you put it up there, it isolates all that shock off there. So there's some pros to doing that, and there's also some cons. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments, people with their own theories and stuff in there, but I know that was the main reason. Isolate that out, keep from breaking stuff. I think if they would have went to that planetary, that would have helped a little bit, but definitely does help moving that up. One of the problems that I hear a lot, and I've actually run a lot of the high track machines, the center of gravity is up a little bit higher. So if you're on the side of a slope, they just feel a lot more top heavy in the seat. And I know getting the side of a steep slope, you know, a 2-to-1 slope where you're on the edge of tipping over, these high tracks are usually, that uphill track will usually just be dangling in the air. It's just barely riding along, but the low track's a little more stable in that aspect of it. But another thing, high tracks, I know the undercarriage don't last quite as long. You've got more wear, you're bending over more joints. Here you've got some more cost involved. You got an extra idler wheel back here. You've got a few more track links and stuff like that in there. So the advantage to the high track system, it does make servicing the final drive and the sprockets and stuff a little bit easier. You got more room to dig your tracks and stuff out. The Cat's made it easy once they went to high drive. You can actually just pull the axle shafts out and the transmission will come straight out the back. But actually on the older John Deere G-Series dozers, you can do the same thing. You can pull a sprocket shaft or pinion shaft out and the transmission comes out the back on those. So John Deere was doing that too from about 88 on up, but serviceability is a little bit easier on that aspect of it. Going that, I have heard, and I know from experience running D6 size machines, they're not balanced near as good backing up hills and stuff like that with the high tracks. I'm sure there'll be some comments in there, people thinking otherwise, but I've ran a lot of different brands of equipment, makes and model styles, about every model it has. So I've had a lot of experience with both types. So, but these things are tough. They're bulletproof. They're made to run forever. You know, you're gonna get a lot of durability out of that setup. Like I say, there's pros and cons to both of them. So this is actually a D5M, which is not that big of a tractor. It's the same exact tractor. It's actually a little bit lighter and a little less horsepower than this, but it tends to look bigger even though it's not bigger. So, but this is like the same as the old 700H's. That K's got a little more power and stuff, but this is what Caterpillar come up with to compete with that. But these are a little underpowered. They're heavy. They got, like I say, got all extra. Whenever we go to the high track stuff, it's a lot more weight and stuff like that. From my experience, like I say, the undercarriage don't last quite as long. I think a lot of that's due to going over some extra joints and stuff, but that's the quick part of it. You do gain a little bit more ground clearance maybe with the high track design, but like I say, Deere probably doesn't have quite as much. There's pros and cons to it all. On a smaller tractor, I don't think it's really necessary to have a high track. They've kind of stepped away from that now. A D6, you know, 45,000 pound machine size on up, yeah, you know, it's a decent idea. So, but anyway, hope that answers some questions on some comments I've been getting, and we will catch you guys next time.